Most stokvels and village banks don't lose money at the beginning. They lose it along the way. And in the beginning, everything looks perfect. People are excited. Everyone is contributing on time. Meetings are full. There is laughter. There is energy. Even big plans. You even start calculating in your head, by December, I will have so much money. I can do this and that. I can fix that. But here is what most people don't notice. Groups don't collapse because of one big problem. They collapse because of small things that are ignored over time. It starts with one person saying, I'm going to pay next week, right? And everyone understands because life happens. Then another one delays, and then meetings become shorter, and you find that people stop attending. Records are not updated properly anymore. And then someone borrows money, but the repayment becomes very slow. Then there's a story every week, and then no one wants conflict, so people keep quiet. No one wants to look like the difficult one. So discipline starts to drop, and slowly the group begins to shift. Trust is no longer strong, commitment is no longer equal, accountability disappears. And before you realize it, the same group that was once full of energy now has tension. I'm sure you have noticed that. The same group that had money now has confusion. The same group that had trust now has silence. And here is the painful part. By the time people realize there is a problem, money is already gone. Today, I want us to talk about the real reasons groups lose money. We're not just going to look at theory, but we're going to look at real life situations that are happening right now in stokvels and village banks. And most importantly, how you can spot the warning signs early before your group collapses.
It's a brand new day with Francine Chirambo. We're ready to go, living out the dream.
My name is Francine Chirambo, and if you are part of a stokvel or a village banking group, whether you have just joined or you have been in one for years, this conversation is for you. Because on the outside, these groups look simple, right? People come together, they contribute money, they support each other, but behind the scenes, there are patterns that many people don't see until it is too late. So many people have experienced loss in these groups. Some of them share, all right? Some have lost small amounts, some have lost everything they contributed for months, even years. And when you ask them what happened, they will just say, oh, things went wrong. But they cannot explain exactly how it started. And that is the problem. Because if you don't understand how the problem starts, you will not see it when it is happening again. In my experience, groups don't just wake up one day and lose money. There is always a pattern. There are always warning signs. There are always small moments that people ignore. And once you understand that pattern, you begin to see things differently. You notice the small changes early. You ask the right questions. You protect not just your money, but the entire group. So today, I just want to walk you through that pattern step by step so that you don't just participate in a group, but you will participate wisely. Let's start with something simple. I always start with something simple. Problems don't start big. They start small. Very small, almost invisible. It begins with one person delaying a contribution. Maybe it's the first time. They come with a genuine reason. Something came up. I will pay next week. And because the group wants to be understanding, people say, it's okay, right? And then second time, the same person comes with the same story. This time, there is a little discomfort in the room, but still, no one wants to confront it. No one wants to look harsh. No one wants to create tension. So again, it is allowed. Now something begins to change quietly. Other members are watching. No one says it out loudly, but in their minds, they start to think, if they are not strict, why should I stress myself? Why am I rushing to pay on time when others are not? And that is how discipline begins to drop. Not through rebellion, but through observation. So one late payment becomes two, two becomes three. Soon meetings start including statements like, oh, we will catch up next week. Let's give people more time. Let's not be too hard on each other. Come on, guys, let's not be too hard. What was once an exception now becomes normal. All right. And once late payment becomes normal, cash flow is affected. Plans start failing. Trust begins to weaken. But now the group cannot predict money. And when a group cannot predict money, it loses control. Let me tell you something. What you allow once, especially in money matters, you will struggle to control later. Because that is the nature of people. People don't follow rules that are written. They follow what is tolerated. Now let's talk about borrowing. This is where many groups break. Because everything feels safe when money is just being saved, right? There's no pressure, no expectation beyond contribution. But the moment lending starts, risk enters. Someone takes a loan. At first, it looks fine, right? They follow the process, they sign, they agree on repayment terms. And you need to understand people, when they want a loan, they will do everything. They will follow all the rules. In the beginning, payments are made on time. So the group relaxes. They feel this system works. All right. Then 1 month, something changes. A payment is delayed, right? The person explains, guys, please forgive me. Things are tight right now. I just need a bit more time. And because there is history, because there is a relationship, the group understands. But here is where the real problem begins. Time passes, all right? Another meeting comes. Another promise is made. Next week, next month, I'm working on it. Give me time. But nothing changes. Now, the room feels different. The meetings are different. The conversations are no longer free. People are thinking, but they are not speaking, right? Some are asking themselves, what if they don't pay back? What about our money? What happens at payout? But no one wants to say it directly, because relationships are involved. There's friendship, there's family, there's church, there's community. And this is where many groups make a mistake. They protect the relationship and ignore the structure. But let me be honest with you. Money does not respect relationships. This I know. Money responds to structure, to rules, to enforcement. If there are no clear consequences, if there is no pressure to repay, then repayment becomes optional in the mind of the borrower. You need to understand that. And once repayment becomes optional, that money is already at risk. Now think about this. It's at risk because in group finance, you are not just dealing with money. You are dealing with human behavior, and that is what you need to understand. And if there are no clear rules, no clear timelines, and real consequences, the money will not come back. Trust me. You have donated the money. You have contributed that money. It will not come back. Let's make it practical. Imagine a group has 20 people, okay? Each person contributes 500 rands or 500 kwacha. That's 10,000 kwacha, 10,000 rands. Now, one person comes and borrows 4,000, okay? The group agrees because the person is known, the person is trusted, and of course, is part of the circle. At that moment, it feels like a normal decision. But let's slow it down and really think about it. That 4,000 is not just money. It represents contributions from multiple people. It represents someone's school fees. It represents someone's rent, someone's business capital, someone's December plans, holiday plans. Now imagine that money does not come back. Not next month, not after 3 months, not at all. Almost half of your group money is gone. Just like that. Now, I just used 500 contributions. People are contributing far much more than 500. Now, think about what happens next at pay time. Some people will not receive what they were expecting. Plans are disrupted. Trust is broken. And questions begin. How did we allow this? How did we get here? Why didn't we limit the amount? Why didn't we act earlier? And the painful part is this. Everyone worked hard, okay? Everyone showed up to meetings. Everyone contributed consistently. But one decision, one uncontrolled loan, okay, it affects everyone. It affects everyone because in group finance, risk is shared, okay? This is where borrowing must be controlled. It mustn't be done emotionally, not based on who you like, but based on clear limits, clear capacity, and clear rules that protect the group first. That is what needs to be done. One major problem is that things are discussed, but not written down, okay? In the meeting, everything feels clear. People talk, they agree, everyone says, yes, we understand, I agree. Decisions are made quickly and the group moves on, okay? But here is the truth. What is clear in the meeting is not always clear later because people don't remember things the same way. Some remember the amount but forget the timeline. Some remember the timeline but forget the conditions. Some add their own understanding without even realizing it. And because nothing is written down, there is no single source of truth. Okay, everybody's saying whatever they want to say. Now, fast forward. A problem comes. Maybe it's a late payment. Maybe it's a loan that is not being repaid. Maybe it's about interest or penalties. As you know, there are penalties. And now people start saying, that's not what we agreed. No, we said 2 weeks, not 1 month. I was not there. No one told me that. That was not the rule. Ever heard of that? And the room changes immediately. Voices rise, defensiveness comes in, sides begin to form. I mean, I've been there. I can tell you what happens in village banking groups, in saving groups, because now it is no longer about facts. It is about memory, and memory is unreliable. Okay, so instead of solving the problem, the group starts arguing about what was said. They're pointing fingers. And now you don't just have a money problem. You have conflict. You have a conflict problem. Okay? And once conflict enters a group, trust starts to break. Trust me. Communication becomes difficult. People withdraw or become defensive. They become defensive all because something simple was not written down. Okay, so if it is not documented, it will be disputed. This is what you must know. And then there's a silent problem. People see issues, but they don't speak. They don't speak because they don't see the problem, but because they don't want to be the one to say it. They want peace. They want to maintain peace. They don't want conflict. They don't want to look difficult or labeled as too strict or too controlling. You understand what I'm saying? This is what happens in most cases. So it becomes a silent problem. They tell themselves, oh, maybe it will fix itself. Let me not make it a big issue. It's not my place to say anything. And they keep quiet. In the meeting, they agree. Outside the meeting, they complain. Okay? But silence is expensive. I want to warn you. Silence is very expensive because the problem does not stop. It actually grows. That late payment you ignored becomes a habit. That loan you were uncomfortable with becomes a loss. And that behavior you didn't question becomes the new standard. And the longer people stay silent, the more difficult it becomes to correct. Because now, when you finally speak, it feels like an attack on somebody. People begin to say, why didn't you say this before? You were quiet all along. Now you want to change things. Have you been there? Do you understand what I'm saying? So instead of fixing the issue, you create resistance. And this is how groups slowly lose control. Not because people don't see problems, but because the right conversations are not happening at the right time. Now, let me just be clear with you. Peace is not the absence of conflict. Peace is the presence of structure, clarity, and accountability. If people cannot speak openly in a group, that group is already at risk, because what is not addressed early will cost the group later. So how do you protect your group? You don't wait for things to collapse, because by the time a group collapses, the damage is already done. So what you need to do is that you act early, you pay attention to small things, and you respond immediately, not emotionally, okay, but structurally. When someone delays, address it. Don't address it the following month. Not when it becomes a pattern, but address it immediately. That's what I'm saying. You remind them of the agreement. You follow the process. You apply the rule that everyone already accepted. Okay? Because the moment you ignore it, you weaken the system. When borrowing becomes risky, control it. Don't just look at who is asking. Look at the numbers, okay? How much did they contribute? How much are they taking compared to the total group money? Can the group still function if that money delays? You don't protect feelings at the expense of the group. You protect the group so everyone benefits, right? So when something is not clear, write it down. Don't assume that people have understood. Don't go out and speak about it. Properly document everything that is discussed and agreed on. Document the amounts, the dates, the terms, the consequences, everything, so that when a problem arises, you don't argue. There's no argument there. You just refer to the document that was accepted. Okay? So structure removes confusion. And most importantly, what you need to do is to create a culture where people can speak. A culture where concerns are raised early, where questions are allowed, where accountability is normal, not personal. All right? Because strong groups are not quiet groups. Strong groups talk. They are clear groups. Okay? What you need to remember is that small corrections applied consistently prevent big losses. And what you also need to understand is that in group finance, what you manage early, you don't suffer later. Okay, you need to pay attention to that. Let me leave you with this. Groups don't collapse in one day. They collapse slowly through small decisions that are ignored. All right? It's the one late payment you overlooked, the one rule you didn't enforce, the one concern no one spoke about. So if you're concerned about anything, speak up. And over time, those small things become big consequences. Okay, I always tell people, speak. When you're in a group, speak, voice out. So if your group is still strong, if people are still contributing, if trust is still there, protect it now. Don't wait for problems to force you to act. Be intentional. strengthen your structure, clarify your rules. Have the difficult conversations early. Don't be afraid, okay? Because it is easier to protect a strong group than to fix a broken one. In the next episode, we are going to talk about growth. How your group can move from just saving money to actually building real wealth together. The goal is not just to contribute, the goal is to grow. If this helped you, don't keep it to yourself. Subscribe, like, and most importantly, share this with your group. Because sometimes one conversation, one meeting, one decision can prevent a loss that affects everyone.